The film opens with John Henry Clayton's return to his hometown of Fowler, Wyoming, after many years. Upon his arrival, he has an awkward reunion with his father, Reverend William Clayton, who informs him that his mother has passed away. The Reverend expresses his disappointment in John for abandoning the family and becoming a gunslinger. When John arrives unarmed, his father asks why he doesn't carry a weapon. John responds that he's left that violent life behind. He later visits his mother's grave to reflect on the past. After a while, John and his father go into town for supplies. The townspeople barely recognize John, but Mr. Parsons, the store owner, recalls him as the man who left for war. John's father sends him to the saloon to get cider, where he runs into Frank Tillman, a thug who mocks John for not carrying a gun. Frank boasts about killing 4 men, but John doesn't recognize him. Dave Turner, another man from John's past, intervenes and drives the thugs away. John remembers Dave and the time he took down Big Jim Westfield years ago. Despite the tension, John insists he isn't looking for trouble. Reverend Clayton explains to John that a wealthy businessman named James McCurdy has hired men like Frank and gunslingers like Dave to harass local farmers into selling their land for railroad expansion. While John denies being involved, his father remains suspicious. Later, John spends time clearing land for his father, something his late mother had always wanted, but never had the chance to finish. That night, Reverend Clayton invites John to church the next day, hoping John will turn back to faith and leave violence behind. John brushes off the invitation. The following day, John continues his work on the land while his father goes to church. After the service, the men of the town gather to discuss the need for hired guns, as their sheriff had abandoned. Reverend Clayton opposes the idea, stating that violence isn't the solution. He assures them that he has already contacted the U.S. Marshal for help, but the townsfolk are doubtful. They argue that the law has never cared about people like them. While John works, his old love, Mary Alice, visits him. She reveals that she's married now with a son, having moved on after waiting for him for years. John listens, but doesn't engage much in the conversation. Meanwhile, in town, Frank and his gang try to force Daniel Peterson to sell his land. When Peterson refuses, Frank beats him in front of the townspeople. John witnesses the attack and steps in to stop it, offering to take Peterson home without confrontation. Frank challenges John, asking what he intends to do about it. John simply says he won't do anything, and Frank lets him take Peterson. The townspeople assist, showing support for John's decision. Later, John reflects on the day's events during dinner with his father. He opens up about the war, questioning the existence of God after witnessing countless deaths. His father becomes angry, accusing John of choosing war to kill. The next day, Dave, Frank, and their gang return to Peterson's farm. Peterson attempts to defend himself with a shotgun, but Dave tries to reason with him, urging him to think of his family. Just as Peterson seems to lower his guard, one of Frank's men, Clyde, shoots him dead. In response, Dave shoots Clyde, challenging the remaining men, but they back down. At Peterson's funeral, the townspeople discuss offering John $200 to protect them, but Reverend Clayton refuses on John's behalf, emphasizing that John has left that violent life behind. Later, Dave meets with McCurdy, who is unconcerned by Clyde's actions. He points out that Peterson's widow and other families have agreed to sell their land. McCurdy praises Frank's methods but expresses concern about John possibly picking up arms again. Meanwhile, John continues his work on the farm, where tensions rise between him and his father. John accuses his father of being disappointed that John survived, and his brother, William, did not. Reverend Clayton denies this, but it is clear that their strained relationship is growing more complex. Frank and his gang try to intimidate Mr. Chadwick at his home, but the townspeople ambush them, killing one of Frank's men. Frank and the others flee, suspecting a leak within their ranks. To maintain control, Frank executes one of his own men on the spot, believing someone must have betrayed them. John, meanwhile, visits Mary Alice again. They reflect on their past together, and John recalls how she gave him a red ribbon before he left for war, asking him to return it if he still had feelings for her. John confesses that she was right to marry Tom and quietly walks away. Unbeknownst to John, Tom is watching them from a distance. Later that night, Tom confronts Mary Alice, asking about her feelings for John. She reassures him that she has no regrets and that Tom is the man she chose. However, it's revealed that John still keeps the red ribbon hidden away, symbolizing his unresolved emotions. The next day, McCurdy scolds Frank for mishandling the situation in town, warning him that his actions could provoke others to fight back. Soon after, Frank kills Chadwick, and McCurdy convinces Chadwick's widow to sell the land. She bitterly declares that when McCurdy is finally brought down, she'll be there to spit on his grave. Meanwhile, John and his father are in town when Frank and his gang cut in line. After a tense moment, Frank humiliates John by forcing him to clean up a drink he spills. When John tries to leave, the gang ambushes him and beats him mercilessly outside. Reverend Clayton pleads with the crowd for help, but no one intervenes. Mary Alice attempts to intervene, but Tom stops her. After the beating, she and the Reverend help John home. Meanwhile, McCurdy uses the situation to manipulate Tom, convincing him to sell his land and leave Fowler with his family. Tom agrees. Later, Dave visits John at home, warning him not to retaliate. Although they never met before, Dave, who served in the war as well, considers John a friend. John assures him he doesn't want trouble. A few days later, John attends church with his father, who is moved to tears. Afterward, Mary Alice greets him warmly, but Tom steps in and demands that John admit he doesn't love her. John remains silent and walks away, understanding that Tom has misjudged the situation. Tom decides to cancel the land sale, going to McCurdy to tell him he's changed his mind. McCurdy reacts angrily, reminding him of their deal and warning of consequences. John confesses to his father in church, sharing the story of a fight that spiraled out of control in a Kansas saloon, where his stray bullet killed a young boy. Overcome with guilt, John breaks down. Meanwhile, McCurdy's men visit Mary Alice, threatening her family unless they sell their land. Mary Alice, desperate, seeks John's help, but John urges her to take McCurdy's offer to save Tom's life. That night, Reverend Clayton pleads with McCurdy, but the businessman coldly refuses. On his way out, Frank and his gang ambush the Reverend and stab him. Townspeople find him and rush him to the doctor. McCurdy reprimands Frank for acting without orders. The next morning, John stays by his father's bedside as he regains consciousness. Reverend Clayton, still weak, begs John not to seek revenge, fearing for his life. But John calmly states that this violence won't end until someone stops it, and this is the only way he knows how. John retrieves the gun he had hidden and goes to the store to acquire a rare Lamont revolver. Armed, he walks to McCurdy's saloon. The town watches in silence as he enters, demands Little Ned, and shoots him instantly. He then warns everyone inside to leave if they don't want to die. Most flee, and John methodically kills the rest, sparing only Frank, who retreats upstairs, only to be shot in the head moments later. As John exits, Dave confronts him. John tells him to leave, but Dave, bound by duty, insists on drawing. John admits the laymat is heavy, putting him at a disadvantage, and asks for a moment to retrieve his Colt. Dave agrees. Instead of returning, John heads upstairs to confront McCurdy. McCurdy stands by a window, trembling, but John is faster. He shoots McCurdy, and his body crashes to the street below. With McCurdy dead, Dave lowers his weapon, no longer bound by duty, allowing John to walk away. John knows that bounty hunters will come for him, so he decides to leave town. Reverend Clayton begs him to stay, but John promises they'll meet again. John rides off into the horizon. A year later, when Mary Alice passes away, John doesn't attend her funeral, but a red ribbon, once tied to her hair, is found on her headstone. After his father's death, John never returns. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit that like button, and if you didn't, go ahead and tap dislike twice, just to be sure. I highly recommend watching the full movie. It's definitely worth it. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this.